Welcome to another Timer Tip Tuesday. This one's kind of a special one because we have people who are not myself and Avery talking. We'll get to that in a moment. But as folks come in and get settled, just a couple housekeeping notes. First of all, if you look over on the side of your GoToWebinar panel, we do have a question piece that you can use. Those questions will be monitored on the back end by James and Avery as we go through this. And then just a reminder that we will send you a copy of this recording as well as the slides afterwards. So real quick, what we're doing here today, we are talking about the race result integration with RaceDay scoring and how to do that. This is targeted much more at people who are new to setting these up. If you already have an existing race result, RaceDay scoring workflow, if you already have kind of been doing this for a while, this maybe really isn't for you as much as for people just getting started in this. And the examples that we're using here are going to be a very basic setup. But we do have the good fortune here of having Bryce Longacre from Race Results on this with us. He's been kind enough to take the time to meet with us and set up this guidance together between the RaceDay team and the Race Results support team for getting started with this. And he's going to kind of walk through some of these pieces later on today, as well as be there to talk through best practices. So big thanks to Bryce and to Race Result for being part of this. So without further ado, we're going to start with the RaceDay scoring side of things and setting up the streams. So in RaceDay scoring, you would add a new stream, and this is, you may have a different method for this already. You may be doing things in a different manner, but this is what we're going to talk through as far as basic guidance for people who are getting started here. And so to set up a race result direct stream, you can name your stream whatever you want, really. The stream name is for your reference. You could name it Bob if you wanted to. However, the stream type should be race result direct. And then the most important piece here is that the race result source name should match your decoder. This will either start with a D, a U, or a T if it's a track box there, and that needs to match exactly. Under this setup, if you're using multiple different pieces of hardware, you can really create a stream library where each stream is specific to a piece of hardware for you, and they can kind of live evergreen in your RaceDay scoring. So you can just reassign them as you go. It's a pretty handy way to manage things there without having to set things up from scratch each time. Some other settings here in the stream that you should be following. The first one is the read dates and times. You don't need to adjust these unless you're changing them for testing purposes. Race Result passes along this information with the reads, and so this is coming into RaceDay scoring. Do keep in mind if you are testing or if you are adjusting reads as they come in for some reason in the lead up to a race, you will want to clear that out prior to the race itself, or you might get some unexpected behavior, especially if you have a 24-hour race or something that's a multi-day race. The listen address, in this scenario, we're assuming that you are setting this all up on a single computer. That should be localhost. All one word, all lowercase there. And then the listen port, this is ultimately up to you. All of our documentation refers to this as 3601. And so generally speaking, unless you're using that port for something else, use 3601 there. You should also be comfortable setting up a file stream in addition to a direct stream. A file stream is going to be kind of similar behavior, except it's going to be looking at a specific file to pull in reads for the stream. The best practice in RaceDay scoring is really to have the data from the file stream you're using in the folder, and only that data. Keeping in mind that if you had multiple different files in there, you could get some unexpected behavior there. That folder path does need to be set though. and that is going to be unique to this stream. If you have multiple folders that you're operating with, you would need multiple streams. We do not dive down different folder levels. In the file stream, a couple other things that are kept to keep in mind with your setup there. Again, you do not need to adjust the read date. And then the race results source name. Again, this can be your decoder. You can use the same information that you had if you're doing a direct stream here, but you should be comfortable, especially if you're new to timing in general. You should be comfortable with both a direct stream and a file type stream. Now, on the race result side of things, this is how you would set this part up. The first thing that you need to do is you need to start the race result web server. And then you would either start a new event by going File, New Event, or open an existing one. You can name the event and set the date to the event, keeping in mind that that should be the date that the event is taking place on. One note here, nomenclature-wise, in RaceDay scoring and RunSignup, race is the overarching holder, and event is the specific distance or contest there. So keep those pieces in mind when we're talking event here. You don't need an event for the 5K, an event for the 10K. Event right here correlates to race in RunSignup or RaceDay scoring. And then save that event SES file. Somewhere that makes sense for your workflow. You may have a specific file management setup that you're working with, but you do need to save it somewhere and have it somewhere where you're able to open it again. And then from there, you can double click on the event name to open Race Result 12 in your browser. In Race Result 12, you're going to go to timing on the top bar. And again, for the purposes of what we're talking about today, we are not loading participant data into Race Result 12. We're using this as a middleware to get the reads from the race result hardware to RaceDay scoring. This may also still be useful for you if you're doing kind of different pieces in both of the softwares and need to connect both of them. But again, this is just the focus for getting reads from point A to point B. So again, you click on timing in the top bar, and then you're going to go to exporters and tracking to set up your exporter to RaceDay scoring. Again, like when we talk about middleware, hardware is your race results decoder. Software in this instance would be RaceDay scoring. Middleware is connecting those pieces. We're getting the read from the hardware to a scoring software here. So we need to do that by building an exporter that sends that. So again, exporters and tracking. Once you go to exporters and tracking, at the top of that page, there's going to be where you can set up multiple exporters if you're sending data to other places as well. The name can be set to all for all intents and purposes here, because we are setting this up so that even if you have multiple devices, you're sending them all to a single exporter, and that single exporter is what is connecting over to RaceDay scoring. The timing point split, as you'll note there, is set to all as well, and we're not filtering anything. The destination for a direct connection is going to be TCP IP, and the IP server name is going to be set to localhost. The port will be set to, I think I have a typo there, pardon me, it should be 3601. I will address that. And keep, that matches directly with what we set up in RaceDay scoring. Export data should be set to raw data record v2. And then once you have this in the upper left-hand corner, make sure that you save these settings. Setting up a file export is very similar in Race Result 12. Note the file name needs to be input by the user. This must be the entire file path, including the file name and its extension. So not just putting in, output or output.txt. It needs to have the full file path getting to that. Now, to play the data from race result 12 to race day scoring, you got to have those exporters set up before you're able to play it out, or an exporter won't appear. Before you're able to play anything to race day scoring, you must turn on the read connector, or you will get an error. So go back to race day scoring, turn on the read connector, and then you can go back to race result 12 and hit play on the exporter, the green arrow on the right hand side of the exporter and tracking. To navigate to this, you can go to in race result 12 timing systems, and then you'll scroll down. It will be near the bottom of the page. You'll see the exporters and tracking, and then you can press play. You'll know that you've pressed play when you see the status looking like so, with a pause, rewind, and stop button now available to you. Once your exporter is playing, you can play data to the exporter from your devices. So your devices are also all visible and represented in race result 12 with the similar interface with play, rewind, pause, and stop. But the order that we are recommending here is turning the read connector on race day scoring, playing from the exporter in race result 12, and then playing to the exporter from your systems. If for some reason you need to replay data, totally cool. Highly recommended if you're ever in a state where you need to send data back, or you feel like maybe you missed something, you can just go press that blue replay button in race result 12 from the devices. So this is the error that you'll get if you do try to play the exporter and you don't have things set up. If you're getting an error similar to the one on the right, just make sure that your read connector is on. Go back through in race day scoring and make sure that all of your settings match what is being set in both places, both in the stream in the advanced settings and in the exporter settings in race result 12. So I'm going to hand the screen over to Bryce to talk through and demonstrate this a little bit, and I will hand that off right now.
Thanks for the introduction, Soren. That was a good overview of just like the basics in race day scoring and race result 12 as far as how to send the data across. Hang on 1 second here while I share my screen. Hope everybody can see my screen now. So I have the article on the race result side brought up here. Now this is something that we put together just to kind of show the race result side and how it relates to race day scoring. This article also includes a SES file that's already been created. So if you're having trouble setting this up or just want an example that's already done, this file is located all the way at the bottom of this article. If you scroll all the way to the bottom down here, you will see this SES file, and you can just click on it and it'll download it to your computer, and then you can run it, and that's pretty much pre-configured for everything you need. So I wanted to bring up a demo here. I actually have that event file in my web server already. I'm not sure if you can see this. But in my web server, I open that file just simply by going into File and opening it, and then navigating into my File Explorer and selecting it. So that was my most recent downloaded file that I have open. And then once I open that event file, it's going to look something like this. So you're going to be brought into the Overview tab. Now this event file has been pretty much stripped to its bare bones, just the basics of what you need to use it as a middleware. So if we navigate over to the timing tab, you will see I have a couple pieces of hardware connected to my local network already. So I have an NVIDIA and a race result decoder. Now, one question we discussed briefly before this call, I realized that is not discussed in the article, is if you ever have any remote devices and you're not seeing them on here, you may need to connect to your account, which can simply be done through this plus button in the top right-hand corner. All you have to do is log in, which I can do for my account. And this bit of hardware is actually already synced to my account. 1 second while I do this. So if I log into my account, once that syncs up, we should see 2 online devices show up in here as well, which we just saw the decoder pop in. So as you can see, the device ID is the same between these two. So that's the same device, just one is the local connection and one's the online connection. So for instance, if this was at like a halfway split point on course and you still wanted to send the data across, that's how you would have to connect to it. So I did want to give just a quick live demo. I do have RaceDay scoring running in the background here. And I do not have a race open yet. But if I go ahead and open up a race, and if I start the read connector up in the top here, we will see a green light. And then if I go back into my race result file.
Sorry to.
Yeah, so you're not seeing the RaceDay scoring or desktop. I think you have it set to share just the browser window right now. So we're not seeing.
I thought I shared the whole screen. Hang on 1 second.
Thanks.
There we go. Is that better?
Yeah, much better. Thanks.
There we go. Okay. So yeah, here, all I did was go ahead and start up the read connector here. So I'll just stop it real quick and then well, I already have it running here. So I'll just leave this running and we can see the green in the top of the screen here. And if I go and minimize that back into race results, I can then go ahead and start my exporter. So we have 2 here. It's already pre-configured with the direct connection, so that's the TCP IP connection. If I were to hit play on this, you should see a green status. But I'm getting an error. So what we want to do is then jump back over to RaceDay scoring. So I did end up stopping that. It just took it a second. Let me go ahead and restart it. So now that we have all green on this side, we'll go back into race results and let's see if this will start this time, which it does right away. So I can also start the file exporter, which I don't know if I have that configured because this event file was just very basic. I don't have the file path put in here, but if you were on your own computer, you could fill in this file path and start that file exporter as well. So it'd be something like your C drive, and then some sort of like desktop folder. Then maybe your RaceDay scoring.txt is the file that you would use, something along those lines. So back into the chip timing menu here, we can see that that exporter has been started. The only thing I have left to do would be to actually open up my data connection to a system. So I could play these, and now all of my systems are played as well as my exporter. So the data will come in from these systems and then go out the exporter on this side. So that's just kind of a very basic example using this template that's already been created for you, kind of get up and running pretty quick without having to go in and configure it all yourself. So one best practice I wanted to discuss from the race result side is going from race to race and kind of keeping your file management clear. One thing that you would want to do, I'm going to go ahead and close all this for now. And if we were to say go to our next event, what we could do is make a copy of this event file. So let's say this file already has a bunch of data in it. It's got all these chip reads. We don't want to mix those up with the next race. So what I would recommend doing is once you have a file that's configured how you want it, so you're not recreating it every time, you can simply go in the web server and there's a create a copy of this event, which is just going to duplicate the file you have open. You're just going to give it a new name. So I'm going to do event 2 and then save it on your computer somewhere. And I have a folder of all my event files on this computer, so I will just save it. And now it's important to note that you're going to have both of these event files open in the web server. So we have event 2 that I just created and the one that I had originally had open. So what I would then do is just go file and close the old one. And now I have this a new event file that's a copy. I can then start using this as the next event that I want to time. The only other step that you would want to do is if we go to open event, all I would recommend doing is deleting out the old data. There isn't any in here, but the way to do that would be under main window, delete data. And then we have this delete timing by data. Now, if there was data in here, this would show a couple hundred or 1,000 reads. You would just click delete and then delete all those chip reads out of there. That basically just cleans out the file, gets it ready to go for the next event. Okay, so other than that, I think that's pretty much a basic overview of how the exporters work and how that template file works. And if anything is unclear, you want more detailed instructions on how to set this up, this is that article on the race result knowledge base. It does go into a bit more detail on kind of the hardware connection. It even goes into some detail like with each hardware piece itself as far as setting up the hardware. The older decoders have a few more steps where you might want to sync your GPS time as well as like enable the timing mode. Those are pretty important. For newer timers that are using Ubidium only, your hardware is much simpler. It's really just turn it on and it's ready to go. But yeah, this article kind of goes into that detail. So if anybody is curious and wants to go through it, it also has that download, which makes it quick and easy.
Great. Thank you, Bryce. So we do have these articles linked in the slides there for you as well. So just a quick reiterating some best practices here. Test your setup ahead of time, not just on race day. Have your systems online well in advance of the race start and confirm that you can connect to race day scoring from race result 12. It's always best to do a couple test reads there. Make sure that you see them in both places. Use a one-to-one relationship between streams and devices. This way you can reuse those streams in subsequent races. Don't adjust your streams date and time unless you are testing or there's something wrong with the time sync somewhere. When in doubt, step back through the setup and see if you have a typo or some other error. So again, go back, set up race day scoring stream, make sure the race result web server is running and that you are in the correct session. Play the data from the exporter, play the data to the exporter, and then just make sure that everything matches localhost and localhost, and that those port numbers between the stream for the exporter and the race day scoring stream match. That's the long and short of things there. Here's a couple of resources there, the link to the knowledge base article that Bryce was referencing, as well as a couple of race day scoring solutions articles that we have there. And then let's just open the floor up there and see if we have any questions. Avery, do we have anything on the back end?
Yeah, so we had a couple of questions from two different people, both wondering if this process works for an offline event as well as an online or just offline. So I just wanted to clarify that this should work the same way on the race day scoring side, whether it's an online or an offline local event.
I will note, if you are timing online with an event file, you do still need the race result web server running for two reasons. One, if you're connecting to local hardware, you're going to need it. But two, if you're using an exporter to a local software, which you would be doing with race day scoring, you also need the web server as well. That is your bridge from the online event file to the offline race day scoring software.
So a question from Devin. He's wondering if there's any relevant changes coming with RR14 coming soon.
So, I mean, it's relatively going to be the same process as in race result 12. The only difference is going to be it's going to look a little different. So the UI in race result 14 is quite significantly different than race result 12. The menus are still technically the same, like the information is the same on a lot of the menu screens. You're just navigating around and getting to them is a little bit different, but the process is the same. So our knowledge base article will most likely update once race result 14 is more mainstream and just kind of help you navigate through and find those menus a bit quicker.
Cool.
We'll also try to update our guidance on the race day scoring side as well, so that it's looking, apples to apples.
Dave's asking if we don't know which decoder is going to be at a timing point until race day. Is that going to be a problem with race day scoring's timing points? So shouldn't be. You can change out where the streams are being used in race day scoring at any time. So you would have all of your streams set up for each of your devices, hopefully in advance, as Soren talked about. And then when it comes time to figuring out which ones go where, you would go into your timing location settings and just assign the streams that way. So it shouldn't be a problem. It's a last minute thing, which we don't like, but totally understand if you're just putting out whichever decoders you have in the van at that timing spot. All right, another question coming in. Eva is putting you on the spot, Bryce, asking when will race result 14 be coming out?
So actually, technically, it's already out. You can use it today, but it's not officially released yet. It was still kind of in beta. I think as of today, we actually just put out an announcement that it's out of beta and like ready for use, but it's not officially been switched over to yet. I think November is the deadline for that. So anybody that's curious about trying Race Result 14, you log into Race Result 12. I believe there's a link on the left-hand side, or you can go to event and then the number 1.raceresult.com. And that'll direct you over to Race Result 14 versus 12. So you can use both kind of simultaneously. You can open up an event file in either or at the same time and kind of try out both.
And then she's asking, I assume not, but she's asking, will Race Result 12 be going away? I assume it's going to stick around.
I mean, it's going to stick around for a little while, but once Race Result 14 is out, we are going to start pushing people towards Race Result 14. Main reason for that is keeping up both at the same time is a lot of upkeep. 14 is going to be the new moving forward. So definitely encourage people to start using it and checking it out now. That way they're familiar when that time does come.
Well, it's for some more to come in. I do want to mention a couple troubleshooting things that come up from my experience with supporting RaceDay scoring timers using Race Result. Number one is sometimes the user will see a message in the notifications area about, it'll say that there are reads being seen from a device and we don't know what to do with them. And so if you ever see that kind of notification, it'll say something like, James might be able to remember exactly what the error message is, but it'll say something along the lines of reads were seen at device. Sorry.
Yeah, basically it just says that we're seeing reads from a given source name that we don't have mapped to a stream. So yeah, that's, things happen on race day and you mistyped the decoder name. And so that's where Soren was talking about. Just make sure you've got that map all laid out of all your decoder names mapped to the stream. Some timers just call their stream names the same as the decoder name. That way you can just, have your streams, the streams stay around in RaceDay scoring forever. So you can literally set up one stream that you use with a given decoder for all time and then just keep reusing, just kind of keep it all clean.
Yeah, exactly. So if you do see these notifications and you're not getting any reads in from a specific reader, it might be the case that the reader name doesn't match what you set up on the stream itself. And so just double check it. Sometimes you mistype it, you miskey it, or you just enter the wrong device, or the wrong device showed up at a location for a split. And you just have to change out which device you're using. So if you see that and you're missing reads, double check that you got the right stream selected and that there's no typo on either end of things. The other thing I wanted to talk about was Soren did a great job of explaining how you can set up all of your streams at once, and then you have all of these devices ready to go on this computer. So it is important to understand that this is data that's stored locally on your computer and not synced over to all of your races. So that could be a problem for you. You really, as a timing company managing your data, you would want all of your streams to be set up once and then kind of deployed out to all your computers, right? So what we've seen some people do to facilitate that is actually create a dummy race file in RaceDay scoring where they set up all of their streams and then they back that up to the cloud, because when you use a stream in a race in RaceDay scoring, it's connected to the race file. And then when you back that up to the cloud, it's in that backup. So if you restore that down to your timing computer, suddenly you'll have access to all of those streams that you built on the main computer. So you don't have to create the stream definitions again on each of your laptops. You can just have this one file that you assign all of your streams to. The only reason to have it is just to get all of your stream definitions out onto your other computers. So just a pro tip there.
I think that's kind of it from the questions section, if any come in. But in the meantime, just a reminder that the registration is open for the 2026 Timer Education Summit in Tampa, Florida. We did sell out last year, so if you are considering it, consider it by registering if you can. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining today, and thanks again, Bryce, for taking the time to join us.
Really appreciate it, Bryce. Thank you so much.
Take care, everyone.
Everybody.
Talk to you next Tuesday. Bye.
All right, we'll see you.